Welcome to the Painting Insights podcast. We have been working on something in the background.
That's right. We've actually started a Patreon channel. For the last couple of months, we've had previous guests revisit the channel to give us additional content, everything from studio tours, sketchbook tours, talking us through the process of paintings and all kinds of additional treats, which you're exclusively going to see as a patron who supports the channel.
So by supporting us on Patreon, you help the channel keep going. There's a lot of work put into this, from the video editing to the sourcing of guests. So you really help us find those guests and to put the content out.
And we have lots of content planned for the near future. So the links for that will be in the description of this video and in the description on the podcast channels. And otherwise, you can go on to Patreon and type in Painting Insights Podcast and support us that way. Thanks very much. Enjoy the video. Would you mind introducing yourself for the audience, please?
Yes, my name is Mira Waksman. I live in San Francisco, and I have 3 grown children, and I'm the San Francisco Art Institute graduated, and I've been practicing art for a long time. Although I had a kind of break, a pause, let's say. In 2008, we had economic collapse in the US, and I almost lost everything I had. And I had to stop. I had to give up my beautiful studio, and I had to work full-time. Before, I was teaching, and I had my studio, and I showed, and it was wonderful, wonderful life. But then, boom, I couldn't do anything besides working, and that's what I did for a very good few years. And then the pandemic happened, and that was a blessing for me. I'm sorry that it wasn't really a blessing for many others, but it was a blessing for me because I had the government as a patron who paid me money every month to stay home and paint. So that's all I did. I ate and drank and slept, paint. That's what I did. It was like mania. It was amazing. I was so into it. And that was the beginning of the beginning.
Excellent.
So I didn't quit. I am an esthetician by trade, and I am working now only 1 week, which is a blessing. And I have amazing studio, 5 minutes away from my home. By walk, I'm walking, which was my dream. I don't drive to the studio. I walk, which is fantastic. It's unheard of. And it's beautiful. It's high ceiling. It's spacious. And it gives me all the, how should I say that? It gives me the opportunity to really dive in and forget the world and be in it. Yeah. So that's my story.
That's fantastic. Well, yeah. I'm wondering now, did it affect your work having that break between 2008 and when you finally could start working again during the pandemic? Was there a time where, that your work is now altered in its appearance or practice at all?
Yeah, I felt like, how you don't ride a bike for a long time, and then you start wiggling, and so I went through this period, and I did a lot of bad art, I have to say. But nevertheless, I went over the hump, and I am on the other side. So thank God. And it's different because I'm different. I'm so much more mature, and I have so much experience, life experience, and different understanding. It's incredible. It's like good wine, you know. You give it some time, and and when you have it had the time, it tastes. So that's really what happened. And
So
so I'm very fortunate. I could, yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Has it made you more experimental or more free in your practice? How has it changed that break?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm not afraid to experiment at all. You as a lab, that's all. I come here every day and I go crazy. And I don't answer to anybody. I don't ask anybody. I just do my thing, you know. And it's it's fantastic. When you're younger, you're so much more self-conscious. Oh, you know, more what other will say, and it's there is something good to say about growing older. You know, that's the benefit that you really don't really care about what others say, and you go really deep. You know, it's just fantastic. You really have the opportunity to go deep and experiment. You know.
Mm. Well, good for you. And you're not the
And
only.
look at that. And
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry. Go on.
Sorry.
It's okay. I think this
No.
connection's
Okay.
an issue. I'm going to move the computer slightly because I'm wondering if it's my end, because I'm getting a really bad signal of you and I want to hear you as clearly as possible. I think that's better, actually. So please, sorry, you were saying about experimenting. Please continue.
Yeah. So so I work because the size of the studio, it's really large. So it gives me an opportunity to work on many pieces at once. So it's like, you know, it's a really funny image came to my mind. Fred Astaire, you know, how he danced from. So that's how I feel. I'm moving from painting to painting, and it's a different way of working. It's really, I'm not working on one piece and putting all of me in one piece. Those days are gone and over, you know. So I like to move from place to place. I wish I could show you how the walls are looking. I can't. So
We'll do that in another
because
video.
it's a computer and I cannot move it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So and it shows, you know, it's almost and I really don't care about if it you know how some artists are really careful about um a painting the same over and over. That's not my thing at all. I really like to, and you could see it because I go deeper and deeper and I try other things and I check and yeah, so it's a great place to be. Yeah.
That's wonderful. That was wonderful. And I can see a piece behind you there. Is that about the normal scale that you work on, or does that vary?
No, it varies. I work smallest piece um is like 5 by 5 inch, the
Wow.
smallest one, but that's really rare. I love working big. So I work on like um 70 by 70, you know, 7 by 7, let's say. I mean, it's different measurement, right? I do not know in meters,
That's okay.
but um, yeah, I like the large sizes, like 48 by 48, 36 by 36. Now I'm in and it changes all the time, you know. Sometimes I feel working smaller. Sometimes I love to go crazy about bigger sizes. So, but I love to work on big, large. Yeah.
Now, it sounds as though all those measurements were squares. Are they always squares that you work in, or do you also vary that scale?
More, it's really funny. Yeah, it's really funny saying it. I am in love with the square. I did do some rectangles, but I don't like it. I don't find myself in it.
Mm,
I find myself in squares. I do not know why. It's very attractive to me.
that's
So yeah,
interesting.
that's what I do. Yeah. Very good at tracing. Yeah.
It's a good format for Instagram. It sort of serves itself into the grid system quite
Oh,
easily.
really? I didn't
Yeah,
think about it. I didn't think about it. Yeah, maybe when it's longer, you know, yeah, you have to cut it or something.
you do. You have to
Right.
crop it
You're
somehow.
right. Stop it. Right.
Yeah,
That's true.
wonderful.
But
Well,
I really, I prefer that. That's what I prefer. I feel like I have more space to, you know, I just don't like to be confined, you know, with, if it's narrow and, you know, it's very difficult for me. Yeah.
so do
I
you
have
have
a lot to say, so I need more space.
well,
Yeah.
do you have a time when you usually make sure you're in the studio? Do you kind of think always by 10 a.m. I go to the studio, or is that, open to, how the day carries you basically?
So in the winter, I like to stay in bed longer and study German and do other things, you know. So I try to arrive like no later than 12. But in the summer, I like to be here early, you know. So I could be even at 8 o'clock. I can be here until 9, 10 o'clock at night. And you know, when I come to the studio, I'm not always sitting and work. I have stations in my studio, so I could move from one place to another. So sometimes I feel like, you know, drawing. I don't like to. I don't want to do any expressive things on big things. So I sit down and I draw. I learn languages. I do other things, you know, but I'm in the studio.
Mm.
Sometimes I don't do anything. I just sit here. Um, but it's all part of the process. It really is all part of the process. I'm not a machine. I'm a human, you know. So, uh, so I don't like to. Yeah, sometimes I come here early. Sometimes I come, but no later than 12.
Mm.
Yeah,
So learning languages is an interesting detail. Is that come
yeah.
from?
I
Yeah.
so you know I study German now. I tried Spanish. It's really interesting. So music music is part of my life. I was a musician for many years, and music and art and painting is has a lot in common. You know, it's one thing. So yeah,
So
so
what
that's what I like to do.
what kind of musician were you? Did you play an instrument? Were you singing? Were you doing both?
I was playing accordion.
Oh, wow.
Funny, yeah, but I was a singer. Yeah, and yeah, but once it became a job, I couldn't stand it. I hated it, so I gave it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's and also dealing with musician is not easy. You know, they're all prima donnas. You know, it's so difficult. So,
I mean, I can relate just to show you. I have here tin whistle,
oh,
and I
isn't
have
it the Irish one? Isn't it the Is it the Irish flute?
it's a tin whistle. This one, tin whistle. I'm not especially good at it, but tin whistle,
Wow,
lovely.
it's beautiful. I love those. You know, yeah. the Irish has those flute or whistles. I don't know how you call it. It's beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
The sounds are gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by all types of instruments. I'm
So do you play?
I play, but not. I just play for myself, just to fiddle around and have fun. But I understand when you say that art and music are related. I appreciate what you mean by that. Can you explain how your music maybe relates to your art making? Did you have a similar way of learning with music as you do with art, or your freedom expressing yourself that way?
I don't know why not. It's not so obvious. When you listen to a tone, and it's like a brush stroke. It's a thick brush. It's a thin brush. It's very the movement. It's all related.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's the same language.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. Now,
Yeah.
if I may, I read in your bio on your website that your parents were from Uzbekistan and Afghanistan, and you grew up in Uzbekistan. Is that correct?
No, Israel.
Oh, in Israel. Oh, wow. So how long have you been in the States for?
Um, 45 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh,
A long
fantastic.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any kind of cultural lineage through Israel in your art? Are you influenced by the colors or the culture or the food or the kind of anything that you remember from then? Does that feed through into the artwork? It doesn't always have to, but sometimes I find that there's a thread there.
I don't think that it cannot. It has to be. It just has to be because whatever you see, it's me. And me, it's all the things that I went through and I experienced in my life. So yeah, it has to be.
Yeah.
It must be in my work. Definitely, definitely.
Because it's incredibly vibrant, your work. And I've
Yeah.
spoken to an artist from Israel before, and his work is incredibly pigment rich as well. And I feel as though that could be something which you have in common for that reason. Perhaps
I think they're part of the not necessarily. I don't think that a Israeli art is very rich pigmented in general. I think the opposite. It's very muted and yeah, not rich pigmented. I think the rich pigment come from my parents. What I experienced as a child, because when they came to Israel when in very early age, when they were 16, separately, of course, and they met on the Tel Aviv beach, and my father caught my mother with a bicycle on the beach. It was very funny. But they brought with them the culture that they were so in love with, that they touched them. And I could not be exposed to that. It was like I had it with my mother milk, as they say.
yeah.
So they really did have continue this culture. The colors, the ikat, the colors of the silk, and so I was really very influenced by that. It was so beautiful. Um, yeah, and the music and all of that.
Yeah.
So I think that has a lot to do with that. Yeah.
Is that part
And
of
I have to tell you a fun story.
please?
When I was many, many years ago, when I went to art school, the instructor would gather us in the beginning of the class, and she would talk about all kinds of artists and stuff. And I got impatient, and I went to my station and I started working on my own on pastels, and that was the first time she introduced us to pastels. And I remember touching it and feeling it and working with it. And after a while, she came by. She was, of course, very angry that I left her lecture, you know. And she said to me, "Wow, you did it?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "This is very good, very good. You didn't know, you didn't touch it before?" I said, "No." She said, "That's really amazing." And then I visited my brother in Munich many years later, and I brought him with me my portfolio to show him because I haven't seen him for a long time. And he said to me something that blew my mind. He said to me, "Do you know anything about our ancestors?" I said, "No, I mean, whatever. Yeah, and I know the basics, but I don't, what do you mean?" And he said, "Did you know that our ancestors were chemists who created the paint, the tint for the silks that they painted in their region there?" I said, "Wow, I didn't know that." That really made sense to me why I'm so attached to color and why color is the first thing that I moves me, you know? So here you go.
That's, I suppose that's genetic inheritance, isn't it? I suppose.
Absolutely.
It's
No
wonderful.
idea, by the way. Yeah,
And is it a comfortable environment for you to play music when you make art? Is that a must-do thing?
of course.
Yeah.
I have to. I mean, music is like medicine, you know, it's very important. Um, yeah, it's and the choice of music is incredible. I can one day be very much attached to opera, and I listen to opera all day long. And sometimes it could be Middle Eastern music. Sometimes it could be piano, you know, classical. It moves. It's just, it's very fluid.
Mm.
So yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Music is very, very important in my
Yeah.
work.
Now,
And actually, there are pieces in my work that I named it. I can feel the connection. For instance, you know, I remember one time I worked on a series and it was La Traviata. I listened to La Traviata and I could not name it, you know, for that. It deserved that, you know.
yeah.
So yeah, it's very connected, very connected.
Oh, that's wonderful. I felt
Yeah,
myself that the tempo of music influences the fluidity and motion that I apply the marks of my artwork. Have you experienced that as well? Yeah.
absolutely. It's like, how do you call it? It's the memograph.
Ah,
How do you, right?
um, ah,
When they measure the movement of the earth, you know, it's
yeah.
the same thing. Yeah.
Seismograph.
Seismograph. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't think of the word when you said it. I knew there was a word there. Yeah, you're very good. You're very good with the metaphors. You've had quite a few metaphors already so far. You say it's like this, it's like that. It's the best way to communicate is a metaphor. I
Is
appreciate.
it?
Yeah, I think so.
Thank you.
I think it's a lovely way to communicate. Um,
It's how I like yeah, that's how I see the world anyway.
yeah. Now, I was interested to see that you've adapted your work to be part of a shop onto cushions, onto bags, and onto different.
Oh, you know, that's really not me. It's the um it's the website that I assigned to.
Yeah,
They do their own thing. I have no idea what they do with it. It's not my choices at all. Yeah.
it
So
lends
it's
itself to
nice.
that quite well, though. I mean, your work on a couch cushion looks beautiful. Looks lovely.
Right, right. Yeah, it surprised me so much. I would never think about it. I
Yeah,
remember one time I got it was through, I think, Instagram. Somebody approached me to use my art on um, bed sheets or something, or I don't remember.
yeah.
And I was so hurt by that. I was I couldn't believe it. I am not gonna. No, I didn't. So I didn't know. So I am kind of old-fashioned that way.
No, I appreciate that. So are you not as keen to see the t-shirts and the bags and things? Are you less commercial?
No, no. Art is art, and that's really what it is. It should be on the wall, not on a shirt.
Well, you may need to address this website that you're associated with.
No, they do whatever they want. I mean, it's so big. I'm not a savvy technically, so, and I know that I need to be somewhere, and that's what they do. So let them do whatever they. I mean, I don't think we sell a lot of it, so I don't care.
Okay.
They should do whatever they. Yeah.
Well, that's a good attitude to have as well, because the internet is becoming more and more complicated with copyright issues. So to be liberated from those stresses is better for your health, really. So good for you.
I always say they can copy that or this or whatever. They cannot copy me. This is it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, I spoke to an abstract artist called Heather Jean Chantos, and she's a wonderful woman who makes abstract art herself. And she said that her principle for making work was that it wasn't to be connected with anything representational. So there's nothing in the world that you could say, oh, she's really doing that chair up close. Or is it the same for you? You're not basing it on anything figurative.
Yeah, and that's the freedom. That's the best. I mean, that's the beauty. Yeah, I've been through all of this. I did the representational work for years and years and years. And when I wanted to be like this artist and this artist and whatever. No, it's the this is the best thing of why I'm so fortunate that it's like it's like when you write as a writer, right? You write, you digest everything in your own mind, and nobody else's mind. This is your mind, and this is your experiences, and they are your words. It's the same thing when I paint. When I do a brushstroke, or I choose a color, or I make a movement, it's purely me. That's what you experience. You experience me doing it, nobody else is, and that's the beauty. It's like being an actress on a stage. Yeah, you doing somebody else's, you mimicking somebody, or you, I don't know how to say that, but the essence is you. That's you. So that's why I love, and I feel so fortunate that I can come up and go to my studio and release on the canvas whatever comes from me.
Yeah.
And and share it. It's amazing.
It is. Well, it's interesting when you say about the actress. I was thinking they interpret a character in their own way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the word I wanted to say.
I knew that's what you meant.
Yeah,
I didn't want to interrupt your flow, but I knew that's what you meant. It made me think then, have you had people interpret your work? Have you had people, project their own meaning onto your work?
Of course, and one of the things is that I had hard time for a very long time to fight with naming my work. I always wanted to I wanted to do my thing, put it on the canvas, and give you the opportunity to see what talks to you and to interpret it the way you want it. It's not mine anymore. Once I finished, it's yours. It's not mine. I had a very hard time with naming it because I didn't want to do it, but but then I had to, because that's the format. You know, people do not. I had people explaining to me that it's very important to name your work so we will know what you blah blah blah. So and I respect it and I love doing it, but I feel like I'm taking away something for the audience. You know, they need to see whatever they want to see in it. You know,
Yeah. I must admit, I've just finished an exhibition in North Wales, and it's figurative work, but it's loose enough that when I put a title on there, it made me uncomfortable that I was reducing it to the words that were on the title. And I thought, it has more potential than this. It can speak for itself outside of the language.
absolutely. You're reducing it. Absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I had a friend who in my group, my circle of painters, who once wrote to us and said, somebody wants to buy my piece, but he insists to change the title. Should I? Shouldn't I? And that was a big discussion. It was really funny. So yeah, that happens too. There are some
Did he
people
change
who
the
very.
title?
Hmm?
Did he change the
What?
title? I'm interested now. What happened?
He wanted his he wanted to change the title in order for him to buy the painting.
Yeah.
So it was up to her whether she's going to agree to it or not. See?
Ah.
And, and so we discussed it. And there were some people who said, no, what do you mean? It's yours. You give the name. The other said, who cares? It was really funny discussion. Anyway, so
It's
it's
interesting.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting you had to change the title to be comfortable to purchase the piece. I've never come across that.
I know. I
Yeah.
know. Me too. Never heard of it. But here you go. You never know. Yeah.
These things happen. That is strange, but yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. That's really interesting. Um,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I mentioned your beautiful, vibrant, pigment-rich work, and I'd like, if possible, do you have a set color palette? And if so, what colors are your preference? What do you use? What are the colors?
You know, it's funny you say that because I just talked to somebody and I said to her that I try not to get attached to any color. Because colors are beautiful and I don't want to prefer one color over other, you see. I want to, when I use color, I want to see how much I can get out of it. You know what I mean? How much I can milk it to give me, because it's a whole world. Each color is a whole world. You could mix it with so many colors and you could so many shades and tones, and it's incredible. So to answer your question, I try not to get attached to any color. Yeah,
Okay.
I rather pay attention to values rather than colors. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, it's very colorful anyway. So yeah.
That's true. Well, then, if we kind of,
Sometimes when it's really vibrant and so I see it as very seductive, and I hate it because I want to be more subtle, and I wanted to bring the vibrance, not to give you the whole story bang, on your face. I wanted to kind of lead you into seduce you a little before you get, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
so if that's based on tone, do you understand? Is there a mechanism, like a preference, where you think it's all in the midtones and then you have lights and darks as kind of little shots here and there?
So I have a tendency to do the midtones and less drama. And I feel like it's so I wouldn't say boring, but so what are you trying to say? What is the, do you understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm trying to use the dark and light sensibly. That's what I try to do. Yeah.
Mm. Well, for figurative work, there's the trick of looking through your eyelashes, squinting to see the heightened tones and things like that. Do you use anything like that to measure your tonal range?
Yes, absolutely. You have to. And you get so much satisfaction when you manage to do that. It's like exactly like you said when you paint the figure. It doesn't make any sense if you don't have those tones and shades and right? It's like flat nothing. So you have to give it some volume, And
Mm.
in order for you to do that, you have to. That's a tool that you have to use. And by the way, talking about figurative, my first years, I spent so much time on figurative um, art. Oh my God, I was so much for years. That's what I did, and and then I realized that it's in everything. It's in landscape. It's in everything that you do. You have the figure in it.
Mm.
So to speak.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
volume, it's in everything. Abstract is that, it doesn't, it cannot be a blob of something and that's it. It has to be move. It has to move. It has to have volume. It has to have, yeah,
It has to relate to other colors on the picture
right.
as well. Yeah.
Well, that's not even, it's not the colors. You could go crazy with colors.
Mm.
There are no laws, of which color is working with another color. There are no laws to it, And I prove that by doing things that other people wouldn't even think about putting it together, and it still looks great. The thing is the values that really, even colors have values, So I mean, let's say red is very dark, versus blue that is light, So it you have to have it, yeah.
Do you have
If it makes
rules?
sense, right
It
there.
does make sense. I'm wondering now if you have any
Mhm.
rules. It sounds as though you've got this very liberated approach, but surely you have certain rules for yourself where you think, I'll never do, X, like I'll never use black or something like that, or I don't use whatever. Do you have rules for yourself?
Yeah, the only thing that I use is no black, and it's because of my the way I was trained
Mm.
for so many years. I was trained not to use black, to make your own black.
Mm.
That's the only rules I have that I can think of. Um, I love lines. I love brush strokes. I love movement. I love dark and light. I like, by the way, white and black. I love that. I can do that all day long.
Yeah.
It's very satisfying to work with black and white. Love it.
Yeah. And
I
how,
love I love grays. Grays is beautiful color.
oh, I agree. I do. If I may, I'd also like to know, because we're saying brushstrokes a lot, Are there any other tools that you use to paint with? Do you use palette knives? Do you use your hands? Do you use rags or any other tools or anything to make it paint? Your fingers?
My hands.
Yeah.
I use my hands a lot. I use palette knives are very limiting to me, you know. I think I'm so used to the brush. Actually, I remember the first time I touched the brush. I felt like, and it was when I was very young, I felt like I know this. I know this. It feels very, very comfortable. So I think brush is, yeah, but I use all kinds of, I can show you, well, I cannot get all kinds of tools, you know, just to make marks. That's all, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I do. I always looking for something, and it's always disappointing. It's not. It does not do whatever I want. You know, it's not always working. The tools. I try to make my own brushes. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. You know. So I always am looking for mark. What will be the best mark I can come up with? You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I tried abstract work last year briefly, and it was much harder than I anticipated. I mean, I knew it wouldn't be easy, but it was much harder than I anticipated. Is it, you know, does it take you a lot of time to still work things out? You know, how long does it take you generally from start to finish of a painting?
The thing is with that, it's a problem because you get addicted very easy. You fall in love very easy. And my fight is, how could I extend it more and not give in to what I see? And this is really a big problem. It's a big problem for me because I can conclude something very quickly. I can wing it so quickly. And then I hate myself for that because then I have to really be brave enough to destroy and to make it more, push it more, and lose it and find it, lose it and find it. Yeah, definitely, definitely. And my conversation with myself is, but why? It's so beautiful. Leave it. And I have the fight with me. No, go. So that's what I'm dealing with.
It's interesting. I've spoken
But
to
I really could relate.
Sorry.
I could relate to what you said about how that you do realize how difficult it to do abstract. I remember the first time I did it. Oh my God! It was horrible. It was just horrible. My brain, my mind could not even. It was really difficult. The things that I did. Oh my God! Oh my God! It was because I was so locked in to what I used to do. It was like reversing something impossible. And with time, I didn't give up, did not give up. And I pushed and pushed and pushed. And the satisfaction is incredible. So good, so good. I totally recommend it.
Yeah. I experienced an interesting kind of phenomena where I did 3 pieces in a row. And the first two, I'd do something and I'd think about it, and then I'd do something else and I'd think about it, and it would take a long time. And then the finished result was just, there was nothing there. There was nothing to really to look at. There was nothing happening. For the third piece, I thought, I'm not going to think. I'm just going to do something and do something else and do something and just try and feel my way through it. Now, I didn't do anything impressive, but a lot more was happening on the third piece than the first two. And it just seemed to be that freedom from judgment and measurement and, you know, consideration that way, and just using intuition instead served me.
Your mind should not be part of it. That's what, in the beginning, when you start a piece, your mind should not be part of it at all. It should go to sleep. Go to sleep. Don't interfere. I need to be free here. Tell me later what you think. But right now, I need to be, you know, right there without you. Yeah, don't judge, don't help me, tell me, don't teach me, go away. Yeah.
But if is that just the beginning, and then middle or end
Oh, the
stages?
beginning.
Yeah.
Of course. And then, when you do that, you cannot help it by to go further away to see you marvel, and then it's not marvel at all, and then you go back and you fight, and then you cannot take anymore. So you have to go further away to look at that. And that's a dance. That's part of the process. Yeah.
It's wonderful.
But it's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is beautiful.
Well,
I think the beauty about it is, I tell you what is the beauty about it.
yeah.
The beauty about it is that you do not believe what your mind tell you. You do not hear what other people say. You are pure. I think it's the best meditation ever. The best. You are there purely letting out things, that as it comes. Then later on you kind of clean it and fix it and correct it or whatever. But I think it's amazing phenomena. It's really beautiful to be able to do that. Think about it. It's unbelievable.
It's almost sounds like a relationship between you and the paint, which is, that's why I think you're trying to prolong the resolution, because you want to keep that energy flowing really between you.
What was the thought? What was it? You're writing. What was the thought? No, not that. What was that? You try so hard to come up to the perfect thing that, you wanted to say. It's all about what you want to say. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if I may move on to something which we always ask artists, and I'm curious what your experience has been. Do you exhibit your work in galleries? And if so, what's your relationship with galleries been like? Have you had a good experience, or has it been mixed?
Well, no, I didn't exhibit it in a gallery ever. But I'm in a relationship now with few galleries who came, one at least came to see my art, and other two are the way to come to look at my art. And so I'm just beginning to show my art to galleries. I never done it before, but I did sell a lot privately to very rich people, so there are collectors that they follow me, and so I don't have experience with galleries, no. And I was so afraid of it, for a very long time. I do not know why I was so afraid of it, but I think now is the time. And in 2025, that's what they said. They're looking for new work. So I'm on my way to that part that I was so afraid of. I don't know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm excited for you. Yeah, I think that'll be fun for you to do that.
Yeah. And the reason is because I do not like the part of the business part of the thing. I just do not like it. And I like to be purely invested in what I do good, and not deal with the. And it's very sad because they say that it's part of the business, but I cannot relate to that. I just cannot relate to the business part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. There can be conflicts.
So I'm excited too.
Yeah. I suppose, I don't know if you have people who you can talk to about their experience with galleries, but I know that some galleries will ask you to sign an exclusivity agreement, where if you show your work with them, you then won't show it with a gallery within a certain amount of distance, so that there's no conflict between the two galleries, and not to sell work that you're intending on showing with the gallery. There's certain things which I don't know if you've experienced before or you've come up against. It can be a tricky relationship, but so long as you navigate it with a pure heart, it's usually mutually beneficial if the gallery is, forthcoming and decent, really.
Yeah. Isn't it true for anything you do? Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be
Very
lovely
true.
to see your work in person. So which galleries are these? Just in case there's anyone who is listening or watching and they want to see your work in person, which galleries are you working with?
Oh, right now I'm not working with anybody. I'm going to work with few, and I'm not in liberation to tell you the names yet, because
Okay.
it's not in actuality right now. It's going to be we are in a process, let's put it that way.
I
So I
see.
think it's the best wait until that's going to happen. Yeah.
That's
And I have a studio in San Francisco, so whoever in San Francisco, they're always welcome to come and look at my art in person. Yeah.
How do
Or
people go
Instagram.
about that?
Huh?
How would people go about that? Do they reach out to you on Instagram or?
They reach out to me and they call me or write to me, and we set a date and they come and visit. Yeah, it happens all the time. And what else? And I have the Instagram. It's Mira Waksman. Yeah. And yeah, that's it.
And your website, so on your website as well.
Website, yeah.
Yeah.
It's Miran Waksman, Waksman @art.com. That's it.
Anyone who is listening to this and not watching, it will be on the video. It'll also be linked underneath the audio and video, so that anyone who wants to visit the website, the Instagram, or any social media that you can provide, we will link it underneath the audio and the video, so that people can easily go and have a look and support you and your work, because we do encourage people to go and have a look and to support the artist. Your work is absolutely beautiful, and I really think that it's going to be exciting for people to see that in person, whether it's a studio visit or for this potential gallery exhibition in the future. So yeah, I really appreciate you being so generous with your time. It's been fantastic talking to you. Thank you for being a guest.
The same here. It was lovely talking to you.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that episode. If you can support the podcast by leaving a like or a comment down below, that would really be great. But what we'd really like is if you're able to leave a review on the podcast channels, wherever you listen to it or download it, because that helps us get spread around the internet so that more people have access to us and able to see what we're making.
Also, follow us on Instagram, and we'd really appreciate it if you like and engage with our posts. Help get the podcast better known. Thanks for listening.